Sweet. Okay. Cool. Hey, thanks for joining everyone. Actually, not as bad of a turnout as I expected. Yeah, so today was basically I'm just going to talk a little bit about like how the media in the NBA world is pretty freaking biased towards those big market teams. New York Knicks are in that list, but because they're almost irrelevant now, I'm not going to talk too much about them. But the three that are really standing out this offseason are the Boston Celtics, Lakers, and the Clippers. So yeah, basically every morning I wake up, I hear the media going crazy and praising Danny Ainge and the Boston Celtics for what he's done recently, and it's basically just accumulating a bunch of draft picks. And I'm not going to try to single out any specific analyst today. It's kind of messed up, but I really thought that after the Paul George trade yesterday, Danny Ainge would have no excuse left. Like someone would actually start questioning him, but that's not the case. So the story comes out like every single time Boston's trying to get one of those coveted all-star wings, Jimmy Butler and Paul George. They engage in talks, and then they say the price is too high, and then they don't get anyone in the time. And then they get traded shortly after that, and you can see that the return value is honestly not too much. Like the Jimmy Butler trade netted a guy with a broken ACL, someone who's shown next to nothing on offense, and moving down 7 spots in the lottery of the draft. And then Indiana didn't even get a pick from who did they get? From Oklahoma? They didn't even get a pick from Oklahoma. Boston could have easily outbid them for that. And so I do understand that because Boston has all these assets, people will be looking for a higher asking point. However, it's just like even if Boston just keeps negotiating or saying like, oh, we want the price to be lower, their price can always easily be better than what was given up to get Jimmy Butler and Paul George. It's so pathetic that they haven't made a move yet, and like the argument that we were waiting for free agency to do so to get one of these guys just doesn't stand, because they did engage in those talks and both of those players were dealt beforehand. So if they needed to make that last minute move, they should have been in the front offices of Chicago and Indiana to try to make those deals try to make those deals work. And it's honestly just so pathetic on Danny Ainge's part that he hasn't been able to do anything when he has all these first round picks. And honestly, if you look at his history, outside of assembling Boston's big three, fleecing the Brooklyn Nets when they had a new owner from Russia who honestly he didn't know anything about basketball, he just wanted to win, and so he just tried to get the best players available through any means necessary, and he was willing to like shell all the money. And he didn't even last long in Brooklyn. I forgot his name. That's how short his tenure was. So he fleeced bad ownership, assembled a big three, and he got lucky with Isaiah Thomas. Outside of that, what has he accomplished in his entire career? He stockpiled these assets, great, but now do something with it. In fact, even one year he only finished with like 24 wins. This was, I want to say, 2006 to 2007. Like, he has history of a lot of failures as well, and people, because he's in Boston, people are like, oh, Danny Ainge is so smart, he's got all these first round picks, and it's so stupid. And even the fact, like, oh, he assembled this big three where he had 3 Hall of Famers. That team, on top of having those 3 Hall of Famers, they were so deep, and they had Rajon Rondo, who gave them a 4th All-Star. And despite having all of those things, the team only came away with 1 championship. So really, like, I question Danny Ainge there too, because you should be able to win more than 1 championship when you have all those players, and super teams weren't even popular back, like, they weren't as big of a thing back then. This was like they could have won a couple more, like a championship more, one more championship before LeBron formed his big three in Miami. And even like okay, this is going to be a very unpopular opinion, but that Miami Big Three was not even that good. Like, Dwayne Wade was very injured. Chris Bosh, like, people, now that he's had this heart condition, people are, like, sympathizing with him and talking greater about his career, but when he was playing, people were not speaking positively. He was very soft, and he was basically a 6'11" shooting guard. He didn't do anything. Okay, wait, I'm gonna have to take a short break. Okay, sorry about that. Yeah, so basically what I was saying was, Danny Ainge should have won more than one championship with that, with his initial Big Three. I'm even gonna call it a Big Four because they had Rondo as well. Yeah, so, like, basically in general, like, just Danny Ainge is he's so overrated because he's on Boston, simply just because he's the executive for Boston. If he was an executive for, like, the Scranton Celtics, he just wouldn't get the same kind of recognition he does now. It's so frustrating. And then, like, to top it off, he gets in this draft, he had the number 1 pick, so he was lucky to. I think he should have made a trade at the deadline this year. So that would have been like 2-3 months where you pick up a Jimmy Butler or Paul George, and so you have those players for this postseason, and then you also get the next postseason. But he didn't do that. He holds on to that pick, and he was lucky enough that it became the first pick in the draft. So with the first pick in the draft, you think, oh, okay, he's going to he'll have even more leverage when it comes to trade negotiations. But then he trades down to number 3, and it's like, okay, well, he stockpiled another pick. That will, in the end, is kind of it still gives him a lot of power in the negotiations. And then he doesn't even draft a top 4 player in the draft. Like, let's see, Lonzo Ball, Markelle Fultz, De'Aaron Fox, and Josh Jackson, all rated better than the guy who got. And, like, I get it's unfair to criticize a draft right after it happens because you don't know how these players turn out. It's just, based off of first glance, he didn't make the right pick either. So it was kind of like, just what the hell was he thinking? Like, why would you? I don't get it. And just, it's so annoying that he's still, like, people look at him as if everything he touches is gold, but he's just, he hasn't done anything with that team. And, like, as the East is getting weaker, he's probably still not going to do anything. Whatever. Yeah, just, like, I think that's just my spiel with Boston. It's mostly with the, how the media treats Danny Ainge as if he can't do any wrong, but it's just not the case. Next biggest issue is the Los Angeles Lakers. And how many years are people going to hype up the idea that the Lakers can attract people through free agency, through the glamours of Los Angeles? What is the most recent or the most memorable signings you've made recently? The only memorable ones that I can think of are in recent memory are Timofey Mozgov, which is memorable for all the wrong reasons. They were lucky to unload that contract. And then the other guy, Luol Deng. Why the hell would they sign Luol Deng? He's like 50 years old. He's always injured. There was no point in picking him up. And so those are the only 2 like big ones I can think of in recent history. But if you look back to when Kobe was there, they couldn't attract any free agent to come there. Dwight Howard bolted as soon as he got the chance. Pau Gasol bolted as soon as he got the chance. Like, the good players that they have, they want to leave. So, like, why do people, like, still hype up the idea that people are going to sign with them? Like, no one cares about Los Angeles, the city, if the team is shitty. Yeah, like, the big rumor is LeBron's going to LA next year. You're trying to convince me that LeBron would leave Kyrie Irving and Kevin Love to go play basketball with Lonzo Ball and hang out with LeVar Ball? Like, who the hell, what? Why would anyone in their right mind leave someone who's 25, about to enter his prime, and is putting on, like, phenomenal performances in the postseason, to go play with an unproven rookie? And maybe Brandon Ingram came off the bench. He didn't even get, like, a full development last year. Maybe, like, what are you expecting, like, Alonzo Ball to be like Chris Paul as soon as he comes out the draft? Like, what lure is in LA? And, like, they're gonna say, like, oh, but the business opportunities in LA are so great. Like, that's what you're relying on. Like, LeBron is a business himself. Like, no matter where he goes, he's going to get a huge following. He's going to have a very successful business. He's got his hands in everything. He doesn't need to go to Los Angeles to get that done. And then the next one, like, as soon as the Paul George trade goes through, people already say, like, it's a foregone conclusion. Yeah, Westbrook and George are going to go to LA next year. Like, what? What does LA have to offer that people think that it's just such a popular free agent destination? God, my God. And then even, like, the Clippers, like, everything I said about the Lakers, you can almost apply that to the Clippers too. Like, why would anyone on earth go there? They're such a dysfunctional organization, and since the moment they got Chris Paul in 2011, they've been the most disappointing team in the NBA. They've been like a super team since 2011, and they came away with, what, 0 trips to the conference finals? Not even the NBA finals, the conference finals. And, like, in those 6-7 years, they never even figured out how to play in the half court. Like, their half court offense was shit when Chris Paul came, and it got marginally better. But then, like, regardless, by the end of it, their half court offense was still shit. Like, what was the point of, like, trying to hype this team up for so many years when they just wouldn't admit that they had the same problem? They never addressed small forward, and they had all these opportunities too. Like, their biggest acquisition in that position was getting up a broken down Paul Pierce, like, who's on his last legs. Like, what the? And still, the media wants us to believe that the Clippers are a popular free agent destination. The only reason Blake Griffin re-signed there was because of the money, and that, like, even then, Blake Griffin's kind of fallen off the face of the earth. He's not the popular, like the human highlight reel he used to be. He's very injury prone. He's not adapting to this NBA game where it relies on more stretch fours. He can't defend at an elite level, even though he has great size and like great athleticism. Or his athleticism, people say is going down, but that's not fully the case. I still think it's there. And, like, this coming from someone who really was high on Blake Griffin's talents, and even now I'm saying, like, this Clippers team is just a lost cause, and, like, good for Chris Paul to leave that dumpster fire. And, like, on top of that, like, no one said anything bad about Doc Rivers for the past X amount of years, and he's also to blame. Like, that Boston team, he should have won more than one freaking championship, but that's all he ended up with. And then even with this Clippers team, how do you not get to the conference finals? And, like, if you want to go, like you want... Okay, yeah, I'm going to rip on Doc Rivers a little bit. He blew a 3-1 lead to a Houston Rockets team, which was pretty much just a one-man team that just chucked up threes. And then, even when they beat the Celtics, I want to say 2 years ago, 2015 to 2016, this is kind of a reach, but do you remember Game 1? I'm pretty sure it was Game 1. Or was it the closing game? I can't remember. It was one of those, either the first game or the last game, where they were playing in Los Angeles, and the Spurs had a play drawn up out of the timeout, and they were running that play, but then the Clippers, whoever was managing the time, they messed up the time management, so that the Clippers got to see what play the Spurs were running, and so when the Spurs did run that play and they had to do a redo because the time went off when it shouldn't have, Clippers know how to defend that play now because they saw it. So the Spurs didn't get another timeout to work with a new play. They just had to, on the spot, run the exact same play, and the Spurs obviously knew how to defend it at that point. So it was like, if you want to go for that big of a reach, I don't think they even advanced in that round either. There was 1 year where they played Golden State and it went to 7 games, and Golden State played the entire series without a center. Because what's his name? Andrew Bogut was out, and like, yeah, I know, like, you can't expect much from an injury-prone center, and like the excuse of, oh, he was injured, but if he's injury-prone, it's not really an excuse. It's just that's who the player is. But even then, like, they were lucky to advance. It took them 7 games to beat the Warriors when they didn't have an interior presence, and that's all the Clippers had at that time. They only had lobs and dunks, and just the Clippers have been such a big disappointment, and people are expecting that they're going to be relevant in the free agency market, and that the media hypes this team up so much, including Doc Rivers and even DeAndre Jordan. If DeAndre Jordan wasn't in Los Angeles, he would be viewed as a worse version of Andre Drummond. Like, Drummond at least can kind of do something on offense. DeAndre can't do anything. Sorry, the name's confusing. DeAndre. But yeah, Drummond can do something. DeAndre can't, at least on the offensive end. And like, all these NBA writers who vote for the All-NBA team, they're trying to convince us that like DeAndre Jordan is better than DeMarcus Cousins. Like, what kind of stupid shit is that? Like, I'm sorry, like, it's hard to, like, this is actually like one of the reasons I wanted to be part of like a sports blog and kind of voice my opinion on it, because like these media sources have so much freaking bias to these big markets when like is right there in front of them. Like, DeAndre Jordan can't create his offense. I want all these writers who said, who voted for DeAndre Jordan over DeMarcus Cousins and all those NBA teams, the all NBA teams, I want them to see how bad DeAndre Jordan is without Chris Paul. Now that he doesn't have a point guard that just serves up points for him on a silver platter, like, what is he going to do on the offensive end of the court? Yeah, he's a great defender, he's a great rebounder, but DeMarcus is still he's still pretty good at those things, and he averages like double the points DeAndre does and creates his own offense. It's just, I'm so goddamn sick of these, sorry, I've just been all over the place, but it angers me so much about like all this like media bias that favors these big market teams. And like, I don't know, I pretty much, like, I covered all the main points I wanted to. It's just like, God, like, it's been happening since like basically basketball, like any sport started. A select few teams had the biggest following, or they had the biggest population or biggest market, and so like the media just followed those guys, and it's something that'll always happen. It'll be something that always bothers me, and there's obviously like not a whole lot that fans or followers can do about it. Just don't buy into media, I guess. It's saddening. Anyways, I think that covers up everything I wanted to say. Sorry, I was a little all over the place, but I think I got my points across. I just wanted to say, like, thank you to everyone who helped with the production. I got, like, my friend helped me with the mic, helped me improve the quality of my webcam, and they're even going to let me use their camera for non-live streams. So, yeah, like, I had some friends over yesterday, and we discussed just like what the future of SportsKop is, like what we were planning to do in the future. We got a new website that's it's live now. There's still some other things I would need to add to it, but it's all our articles will go there now. And yeah, like I don't think I've ever been this excited for SportsKop. So please tune in. I'd love for you to So I was not following the chat at all. Yes, shout out to Scranton, the Electric City. Yeah, exactly. Like what? Going back to the. Sorry, I should have done this earlier. Going back to the Boston and their picks, you have certainty with these players that you're getting. With these draft picks, you don't. Anything could happen. Someone could get injured. Someone can like just not fit in your locker room. Like, I think I mentioned that I had the other article, like live stream where I just talked about like why I think Boston should trade their picks. and you don't even have to trade all the picks. Just trade like 1 or 2 of them, and you'll get the pieces you need. But yeah, okay, yeah. So to wrap things up, thank you to everyone who helped out. I'm really happy about the direction SportsKop is going. Please check out our new website and like follow our social media links, and I'd really appreciate it if you subscribe too. Yeah, I think that covers everything. Thank you for tuning in, and I'd love to hear your opinions on things. Have a good day. Bye.